Hi, Lovebugs. Welcome to another episode of Girls Night. I'm your host, Carly Dockstader, and we have all been there before where we are going to our friends for advice or we're complaining to them about something that's happened and they just don't want to hurt our feelings. So maybe they cushion the truth a little bit or they placate us, whatever the situation is, or maybe we're the friend that's trying not to hurt our friends' feelings. But honestly, when that happens, sometimes we do just want somebody to listen, which is valid, but sometimes we just want somebody to be blunt with us and tell us the truth and the full truth and not sugarcoat it. And when they're not doing that, it can be kind of fucking annoying because because when I'm coming to somebody for advice, I don't want them to say what I want to hear. I want them to tell me what I need to hear. So that's what this episode is all about. I got you, my dearies, because I'm going to be telling you all of the advice I would give you if I was not afraid of hurting your feelings. So let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Life can get a little crazy, so let's talk about it. If you're ready to dive deeper, talk about what really matters, and feel a little more empowered, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Carly Dockstader. I'm a life coach, baker, dog mom of two, and you're always there for you, gal pal. And I'm so excited to have you join me. So grab your fuzzy socks, put on your comfy pants, and let's have girls' night. Okay, so the first piece of advice that I would give you if I was not afraid of hurting your feelings is that hyper independence is stupid and unnecessary. And that might sound a little harsh, but that's kind of the whole point. We get it. You can do it all on your own, okay? Point proven. You can stop now, please, for the sake of yourself and for ours. Just stop, please. When you are hyper independent like this, it I feel like in this society today, like it's somewhat promoted as being a good thing, but being hyper independent where you don't want anybody's help, you are afraid of asking people for help, you feel guilty when people do give your help. This is actually a trauma response because when you were a child, you probably had to be independent and it was probably was really hard to depend either on your caregivers or this even could be from a wound from when you were older. Maybe it's from dating, maybe it's from friends, but either way, this is a trauma response because as humans, we're actually supposed to be social creatures. We are supposed to be living in tribes and in community. And one of the benefits of community is that everybody is helping with everything, right? And if you are trying to be doing it all on your own, all the time and not accepting help, even when people are able and willing to give that help freely, then you are going to get burnout really fast. And the reason you're not trusting other people to step up for you, which is leading to the burnout, is because you don't actually trust them to do it like you can do it. And you know what? Maybe they can't do it the same way that you can do it. Maybe they won't do it as well. Maybe it won't have the exact same result as if you did it yourself, but who cares? Like honestly, who cares? Because done is better than perfect. Let people help you in their own way. And honestly, because people have different ways of doing things, like you might even learn something about the way that you're doing something. Maybe the way that you do something isn't the best way to do it. So maybe the way that they're doing it is even better than the way that you were planning on doing it, but you would never know because you never let them help. I think a really good example of this that a lot of people can relate to is with filling the dishwasher. And if you live with somebody, I feel like we all have like very particular ways with how we like to load the dishes and how we like it to look on the inside when we're putting the dishes in the dishwasher. And this is something that I was actually talking to my sister about, but just because somebody isn't loading the dishwasher in the exact same way that you would load the dishwasher doesn't mean that it's the wrong way to do it. It's just a different way to do it. And at the end of the day, if you are overwhelmed and you are sick of being the only one cleaning your house or the only one doing the dishes, then guess what? You have to be okay with other people loading the dishwasher in their own way. Because if you try to take over or if you get mad at them every single time they're doing the dishes because they're not doing it exactly the same way that you would, then they're going to want to stop doing it and they're not going to want to do it anymore. And then it's going to be a constant battle. So I know that's a silly example, but that can be used in so many different areas of our lives. So I would challenge you if this is something that you struggle with, hyper independence, which I used to be there. I used to be the hyper independent queen. I didn't want help from anybody. I felt really bad receiving help, even though I also wanted to help everybody else. So I was constantly burnt out all the time. Like, take it from me, when you start to let people in more, when you start to let people help you, then your connections are going to grow deeper because the people we care about, they want to help us. They want to make our lives easier. And it helps us to feel closer to people when we're able to help them and we're able to show up for them in their time of need. So let your friends, let your family, let the people that you care about do that for you too. And it's going to be, or it's going to feel really scary at first because it's going to be something that you're not used to. And it's going to involve a lot of trust in other people, and it's going to involve giving up control, which that's probably something that you struggle with if you are hyper independent. But the more you let go of control in little ways, the more relaxed, the safer that you're going to feel in your own body, in your own home, in your own environment. Number two, they love you, but not enough. There is a difference between someone who likes you, cares about you, maybe even wants what is best for you, and someone who fucking loves you and adores you and cherishes you and wants to spend the rest of their life with you. There is a difference between those two people, and you feel it in the way that they show up. So if you're sitting here constantly questioning whether this person loves you, if you have had the hard conversations with this person, if you have told them about how you feel, if you have tried to work on your boundaries and stand for your boundaries, if you have tried to give them grace and try to work with them and nothing is changing, maybe it is best for you to walk away. And so when I say this, yes, I am an advocate for staying through the hard stuff in a relationship, but there is a difference between committing to each other and staying through the hard stuff in a relationship and somebody who just doesn't care enough about you to do those things, because the person that is keeping you around just to keep you around so that they are not lonely or for whatever reason, they are not going to be a good partner when things do get hard. When shit hits the fan, that relationship is going to crumble. But if you have built the foundation with somebody who truly loves you and truly cares about you and truly sees you for who you are, that's when you can stick around and work things out with them. There is a difference. You can feel the difference. There is a difference in the way that those people show up from the very beginning of the relationship. And that's not to say that you should expect perfection from somebody that you're dating, because none of us are perfect. There are always going to be things for us to work through. There's always going to be triggers on both sides of the equation when you're in within the container of a relationship. But what matters is how they show up, how they support you, and are they actually willing to make changes to ensure that the relationship works? Are they also considering you with their actions, or are they only considering themselves? When things get hard, do they come to you and talk to you about it? Are they talking to you about the things that are bothering them? Are they helping you to grow and to learn? Because if not, then there is somebody out there who will help you with those things. We have a way of convincing ourselves that somebody likes us when they don't, or that somebody loves us when they don't. I think a really good example of this, if you weren't aware of it, was I think her name was Kendra with her psychologist or her psychiatrist. And I bring this up only because he was very clearly not in love with her, right? Like, there were no signs of him being in love with this woman, but she convinced herself that he was. And most of us don't do that to an extreme extent. Like, for most of us, it's the fact that they are showing signs and it's really confusing. But if things are that confusing, then that's your answer right there, because love should not be confusing. When somebody really, really loves you and cares about you and wants to grow with you and have a life with you, they show up in a way that is consistent. They show up in a way where you do not have to question it. They show up in a way that's really safe and comforting. So if you're constantly questioning your position in this person's life, if you're constantly having arguments, obviously reflect on whether there's some things that you could work on too. But if that's the case, and if you have done the work and you have had the conversations, then lots of times then it's just a match that wasn't meant to continue. Maybe you were supposed to learn certain lessons from it, but maybe it wasn't supposed to be long term because not everything in our lives is meant to stay for the long haul. Sometimes it's just a short journey, sometimes it's just one beautiful chapter in our lives, and that's it, and that's what it was meant to be. So if you are questioning where you stand with somebody and you have not yet had those hard conversations, you need to have those hard conversations in a way that is productive. You know, if you really want to be in a relationship, you have to be brave enough to bring that up to them and say, this is how I'm feeling. I don't want to see anybody else. I want to be in an exclusive relationship with you. Have that conversation. If they are on a different page, that's okay. You, at this point, you know, and you haven't wasted any more of your time on somebody who truly doesn't want the same things that you do with them. And you're giving yourself the space to find someone who does truly want those things with you. And sometimes people blame this on being avoidant or being emotionally unavailable, which, like, yes, that can pop up. But I think most of the time it's just us trying to convince ourselves that they love us when maybe the feelings aren't as strong as we really thought that they were. So I saw this analogy on TikTok where this guy was explaining what it's like to love an emotionally unavailable person. And so essentially he has one cup in his hand, which I don't have cups, so it's probably not going to be as effective. One cup in his hand without a lid, and he has another cup in his hand with a lid on it, like one of those plastic lids that you can put a straw in. And essentially he's saying when you're pouring into a cup with a closed lid, and it does not matter you pour into that cup, it's just going to fall out the sides because the lid is preventing it from going in. And even if a little bit of your love does make it into that cup through that like little hole through the straw, then when they try to pour back into you, it is not going to work because the lid is just preventing it from happening. So you are always going to be running dry. Their cup is not going to be any more filled, or maybe like slightly more filled, but not to the point that it needs to be in order to be in a healthy relationship. And you both are going to be depleted at the end of it. And the reason that they can't pour back into you, the reason that they have that lid on in the first place is because they have things that they need to heal through. And there is no amount of pouring from your end that is going to heal those things for them. You know, you can always be there to support them, but at a certain point, they are the ones that have to take the lid off of themselves and dive deep into those places that they do not want to look because only they can really get intimate with themselves to the point where they feel comfortable sharing those pieces with somebody else. You can't force somebody to feel comfortable doing those things. And the thing with this is that maybe, yes, they're able to take the lid off for the person after you. And I feel like that's kind of everybody's biggest fear when it comes to a breakup like that, especially those really painful ones. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay that they're able to take the lid off with the person after you. It's all a part of growing and healing and learning and kind of just living this life that we're in. And to be quite frank, I would hope that if you did truly love this person as much as you say that you love them, then you would want them to take that lid off, even if it's not with you. Because when you have that lid on, it's a really painful place to be because everybody strives for that connection. Everybody wants love and care for themselves. And when you have that lid on, it makes it really impossible. So if they're able to take that lid off with somebody else, then I think that's a really good thing. So if that's something you're upset about, one, I get it. Totally. I 100% get how painful that can feel, but just know that's not about you. It's about their own journey and their own pain and their own healing. And sometimes we're able to heal with other people better than we're able to heal with others. But that's like really exactly why you can't get hung up on things like this, like on all these breakups, because if you get hung up on all these things and you don't forgive and you don't heal and you don't move on, then you become the next person with that lid and then you keep the cycle going. So if you're able to reflect inward and understand the pain, feel the pain, let the pain do what it was supposed to do, and then move on and learn the lessons from it like you were supposed to do, then you're able to honestly just grow your cup and pour into other people a little bit better. Right. Number three, if you are living a shitty life, it is because you're thinking shitty thoughts. I am 100% a believer in radical responsibility. If we are living a shitty life, ultimately, I believe that that comes back to us and the actions and the behaviors and the thoughts that we're allowing ourselves to participate in. So, NLP, there's this concept about how we actually process our information from the outside world. So all of our information is coming in through our different senses. So sight, touch, sound, taste, smell, like feeling, which I feel like is part of touch. So essentially, our bodies are receiving all this information through our senses, and then our brains turn all of that information into language inside of our heads. And then our brain takes that language and then it generalizes it because there is so much coming in all at one time that the brain needs to generalize it and pick out the most important pieces of what is coming in. And then our brains will delete any of the information that it feels is unnecessary. But the thing about it is that our brains will always prioritize the info that is familiar information because familiarity equals safety. But familiar isn't always what's best for us. It's just what's familiar. So that's what feels comfortable and safe to our brains. So if you think of it this way, that means that our brains are deleting all the other information that we could be receiving in exchange for the familiar information. So that means that there could be so much information out there that is actually to the opposite of your beliefs that you're not even processing because your brain is choosing to delete it instead. I'm going to put this into perspective with an example. Let's say you're walking down the street and you have this belief within yourself that men do not like you, that men think that you're ugly, something really intrinsic like that. You're walking down the street, and let's say a couple of guys pass you. Your brain is automatically going to delete the 10 men that smiled at you and waved at you, and maybe even checked you out as they passed you. And it is only going to focus on the one man that made a weird face or crossed the street rather than walking by you. And to be quite honest, our brains are probably, because we have that belief, our brains are going to make it about us when that person crossing the street could have been for a completely different reason that had nothing to do with us, you know? But our brains are going to make it be about us, and it's going to make it basically affirm the belief that we have that men don't like me, men think I'm ugly. So I hope that helps explain it a little better, but that is why our thoughts are so important because you have control over what you're actually thinking in that moment. And sure, it's going to take work, but that's why there's people like me that can help you do that. That's why there's tools like NLP so you can recognize your patterns. That's why there's tools like EFT to help you rewire your brain and put in more positive thinking and more positive memories so you're not stuck in these negative thought patterns so that your brain isn't deleting all the beautiful information that's around you just because you're so used to thinking the negative thoughts. But I will say this again and again and again and again. If you are having a bad day, if you are going down one of those negativity spirals, then you have a choice to pause and think a new thought. You always have a choice in the matter of what you think. And it'll be sometimes a slower process to change the way that we think. But if you start now, then you're going to change your life for the better always. And on that note, our thoughts become things. So it's kind of in the same vein of what we were talking about, and it's kind of about what manifestation is about too. But our thoughts become things because when you change your thoughts, you change what you're actually noticing in the world, and you're changing the opportunities that you're seeing, and you're changing the people that you interact with, and you're changing the patterns that you're noticing, and you're changing the way that you show up in the world because you move differently and you think differently of yourself and you accept differently. Like, our thoughts are so powerful and they are the basis of everything that is happening in our lives. So, if you are living a shitty life, first take a look at all the thoughts that you're thinking in your head. And something that you can do for this, it's actually really simple. Just be cognizant, take one day and be cognizant of everything that you're thinking and kind of take a tally of like, oh, damn, like that's a negative thought. Like, oh, that was a negative thought too. Like, what? Oh, that was a judgmental thought. Oh, why am I being so mean to myself right now? And when you actually take the time to pay attention to your thoughts for one day, you'll start to notice the patterns that you think throughout the day. And a really good way to start changing the thoughts that you're thinking every time that you do catch yourself thinking a negative thought, then I like to think three positive thoughts in the opposite direction that's related to that same topic. So we'll use body image as an example for this because this is something that I struggled with for a really long time was with my body image. So every time that you catch yourself saying, "Oh, I look so fat in this dress," or "These jeans don't look good on me," or "I have such thick thighs," come up with three thoughts that are in the opposite direction. And it can be exactly opposite. It can be like, you know what? No, I'm beautiful. But it can also be something that might feel a little bit easier for your brain to believe at this point in time. So, going off of the thick thighs example, maybe you could think, you know what? I have strong legs and they help me get around. I am so thankful that I have working legs that help me walk around everywhere. And you know what? Those strong legs make it so I can outrun anything that doesn't suit me. And you know what? Those strong legs are also very appealing to certain people that will find me appealing too because of that. Anyways, you get the point. Just come up with three positive thoughts in the opposite direction. And honestly, if you can't think of a positive one that's directly related, then you can be like, you know what? Like, let's say you call yourself ugly in the mirror. You could be like, you know what? I really appreciate how smart I am. And you know what? I actually have really pretty eyelashes. And you know what? I think I'm actually having a really good hair day. And those three things are automatically going to start putting your brain in a more positive direction so that your brain is automatically looking for more positive things. And again, this is going to be something that takes time because you have been thinking this way likely for a really, really long time. So it's going to take you stopping and correcting yourself quite often in order to start forming a new thought pattern. Maybe you're a beginner at something and you're like, damn, I fucking suck at this. Like, I shouldn't do this anymore. That's not helpful. Obviously, that's not a helpful thought. It's one that we've all thought. But instead of saying that, you can literally tell yourself, like, hey, you know what? I'm a beginner. I'm still learning and I'm doing the best that I can. That is a more positive thought than what you previously thought. Or, hey, you know what? This did confuse me a little bit. Maybe I can actually ask someone for a little bit of guidance so I can do it better next time. Or, you know what? I'm a beginner now, but the more that I practice this, the better I'm going to get, and then eventually I won't be a beginner anymore. Like those are all more positive thoughts to get you thinking in a better direction than what you were previously thinking. And it's kind of the same thing when you're being judgmental, right? So there's some judgments that we make that are just automatic, and that's kind of human nature at times, but there's also more judgmental people out there than others, let's be honest. But every time that you catch yourself saying something mean about somebody that you're passing on the street, then correct yourself and say three positive things about them. Like, oh, that person looked really happy. Like, oh, that person had a great smile. Or I loved that person's dress. Like, just work towards being a better person, being a nicer person, and thinking better thoughts at the end of the day with everything that you're doing. Okay, advice number four. I put up a two. Advice number four. um, your own expectations are ruining your happiness. So this is something that I feel like I'll get a lot of flack on, but there is a difference that I would like to state off first and foremost. There is a difference between expectations and boundaries. So the best way to think about it is that expectations are more externally faced and boundaries are more internally faced. So, an expectation says, I need this person to be this exact way, and I need them to change into being that way. A boundary says, hey, this is the way that I expect to be treated by another person. If this person cannot meet that, then I know that it is time for me to walk away. Do you see the difference there? It's a very subtle difference, but expectations, you're projecting your own fears onto somebody else and wanting them to change to help alleviate that fear. Boundaries are more about you being proactive in your own life and knowing what you're worth and what you deserve and what you actually want to accept in your life. But expectations are putting all the power in somebody else's hands. So the easiest way to kind of exemplify this is with a relationship. I feel like this is where people struggle with this the most. An expectation is saying, you didn't pick me up on time. I expect you to pick me up on time next time. And that sounds really little, but there's people that struggle with being on time to things. So if that's something that's really important to you, that expectation is probably never going to be met because you are trying to force this person into a new action for you, right? It's not for them. A boundary says, hey, like, I prefer to be with men that respect my time. And to me, that means picking me up on time. And if this person is late again, then you say, hey, we've talked about this before. I think this isn't going to work because, again, this is a big deal for me. And then you walk away. I hope this is making sense about the difference. I know that it is very subtle, but there is a difference between it. And so if you are living a life where you are perpetually disappointed or sad or angry, it's likely because your expectations are getting in the way. So another good example of this is when you're going on a date. Let's say you've been talking to someone for a really long time, you're hitting it off over text, maybe you met on a dating app, and then You are expecting the your first date to be the best date that you've ever had just because you feel like there's a spark and everything has been so amazing so far. When you go on that date, it's likely going to be disappointing because the expectations that you have in your head are going to be different than what actually happens. And so you're going to be disappointed, probably, even if it was in the grand scheme of things, like a good date or a great date. Like if you're expecting it to be the best date that you've ever had, then you're going to be disappointed just because you have built up the situation so much in your head that it's way up here when most likely it's probably going to be down here. And the thing about expectations too, when you go into a situation without expectations about how it has to end up or how it has to go, then you actually leave more room for magic to happen because magic happens when you're in the flow and when you're receiving and when you're having fun and when you're in joy. But if you have all these expectations all the time, that kind of stifles that flowy, fun, energetic feeling because you are constantly looking on just one outcome instead of allowing all these other outcomes to come in. So, another example, let's say you've been dating your boyfriend for a while, you're going on this big fancy trip soon, maybe you're going to Paris, and in the back of your head, you're expecting your boyfriend to propose to you on this trip. So, this whole trip, you have this expectation of, okay, he's going to do it now. Like, he's going to propose to me now. Like, oh, maybe he's going to propose to me tomorrow at dinner. Or maybe he's going to propose to me tonight on the beach. Or, oh, it's our last day. He must have something really great planned to propose to me. That's because your expectation is running the show in the background the whole time. And so it could have been this really beautiful trip. And if you don't get engaged, you're going to be really mad and upset that you did not get engaged, even if everything on that trip would have been amazing if you did not have that expectation in your mind. And on the flip side, even if you do get engaged on that trip could have been so much more fun and magical and beautiful. And the proposal could have been so much more fun and magical and beautiful if you did not have the expectation of it happening the whole time. And to be quite honest, we usually have like higher expectations of how other people show up and treat us than what we even show up and treat them. So just take a look at your expectations. This does not mean getting rid of your boundaries because boundaries are really, really important, but sometimes it's okay to take a look at your expectations and just let things be and let things show up as they may because your boundaries actually allow you to enjoy the moment and live in the moment a lot more because your boundaries allow you to say, I know when it's time for me to walk away, so I can actually experience this to its fullest. And if it reaches that point, I know I'll be good because I know I've got me and I know that I'm going to choose me if it does reach that point. Okay, piece of advice number 5. Grow a backbone. Seriously. If you are letting people walk all over you, that just is not it. That is not the vibe. That is not what your life was meant to be. You were not meant to be somebody's doormat. You were not meant to be anybody else's doormat. So if you're feeling that way, then I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. One, what is the worst thing that happens if I stand up for myself? 2, is it truly that bad if I lose that thing? And 3, is it possible that something better could take its place if I do lose that thing? All right, number 6. Boundaries are not selfish, and thinking they are is a martyr complex. I'm going to say that again. Boundaries are not selfish. And this has a lot to do with people pleasing too, which really, when you look at the core of it, people pleasing actually is like a very selfish thing, even though it seems like very self-giving. So the reason that a lack of boundaries and people pleasing is very selfish is because usually when we're doing that, we are wanting to get a specific response out of that person. So you're laying your life on the line, you're completely running yourself ragged, you're doing all these favors for all these people because you want them to like you, or because you want them to love you, or because you want them to choose you. And you're risking and sacrificing yourself in the process. But it's really just like a very selfish thing because you're trying to get something out of it that is kind of like an ulterior motive to just simply doing that thing for the sake of doing that thing for helping that person or whatever. So your boundaries are not selfish, and boundaries, like I just said, are necessary in order to have healthy relationships and in order to live a fulfilling life because we cannot say yes to everything. We cannot be everything for everybody. And when you have boundaries in place, it actually helps you find the things that are meant for you and the people that are meant for you a lot faster because people that aren't willing to respect your boundaries, sayonara, hasta la vista, like you don't have to stick around, right? If somebody isn't willing to treat you well up to your boundaries and where they are and up to your standards, then okay, bye. I will find somebody that treats me well. If you have friends that don't show up for you, then okay, bye. I will find friends that show up for me. But the more you respect your boundaries, the more you are going to be living in your purpose and the happier you're going to be. And the happier everyone around you is going to be too, because none of us really want to be with somebody who completely sacrifices themselves for us. It makes us feel weird. It makes us feel like icky because when you truly care about somebody, you want them to be at their best. You don't want them to be this like pile of burnt out goo on the floor. You want them to be living their best lives. And you definitely don't want them self sacrificing for yourself. You know, that's just not a good feeling knowing that your friend is in a bad spot because of something they did for you. But boundaries are not selfish, boundaries are sexy, and always remember that. Okay, number 7, lying to protect someone is not about protecting them at all. It's about protecting you. I get that some of you are probably going to say, like, oh, but what about little white lies or what about surprises or whatever? Surprises are something we're not talking about. Like, if you're trying to throw someone a surprise party, like, cool, go for it. I think that's awesome. That's different than what we're talking about. Even little white lies are painful and they're hurtful to a relationship and they cause damage. And I would argue that little white lies repeated over time are almost even more damaging than those big lies that we tell. All lies are damaging. And honestly, to me, like when you're with somebody who values honesty like me, like it's lying is just like a no-go. And lying to protect someone isn't actually protecting someone because you are not giving them all the information to make an informed decision. I'll use the example of cheating. So people sometimes argue that, oh, don't tell them it's just going to cause them pain, like it was just a one-time thing. Like there's no need to cause a rift when you regret it and like whatever. No, like you omitting that information is protecting yourself because you don't want to feel the shame of going up to that person and admitting you cheated, and you don't want to risk losing them because that's something where likely you might lose them because you cheated on them. And really, you don't like, you want to go on like everything is okay when everything is not okay. And people can sense when things are off. So, truly, I believe that when you lie, it comes out eventually, and it's just so much worse. The pain is multiplied when you do that. But by omitting that information, you are not letting them make a choice for themselves about their own lives because you are worried about what is going to be happening to you, and you are not considering what is truly best for them because you don't get to decide what's truly best for that person. They get to decide what's truly best for that person. And in this example where it involves cheating, then yeah, maybe what's best for them doesn't include you anymore. And maybe that is best for you too, because maybe that gives you time to reflect on why you cheated on them in the first place. Point is, when you're lying to protect someone, that is really just protecting yourself from something. So I would invite you, if you are between a rock and a hard place, if you think that you're trying to protect someone's feelings, I would ask yourself why you feel the need to do that. And I would ask yourself what you're actually scared is going to be happening with you if you tell them this thing. I think a really good example of this is with friendships too, where if we tell them something honest, sometimes we're afraid that they're going to retaliate on us. And maybe that's going to cause strain on your friendship or it's going to make you lose your friend. That's definitely a fear because we don't want to lose our friends. But at the end of the day, you have to be honest with your friends if you want them to actually live fulfilling lives. And you have to tell your friends things that they don't want to hear sometimes if it is for their better good. And a good example of that that comes up, that me and my roommate have actually talked about. Let's say that your friend is going down a bad path. Maybe they're addicted to alcohol or they're addicted to drugs or they're just out partying too much or they're slacking off at their job or something like that. That's a conversation. That's a sensitive conversation, you know? But something that my roommate told me that has always stuck with me is that losing a friendship is always better than losing a friend. So in this instance, sure, maybe you being honest with them about what's going on, about what you're thinking, and about how you're worried about them, maybe they do retaliate and maybe you do lose that friendship for a little while or forever. But at the end of the day, it is still better for you to be honest with that friend because if they are truly going down a dangerous path like that, like drug addiction or something like that, it is truly better to say what you need to say in that situation and kind of point out what's happening than to just let your friend keep going down that destructive path blindly with nobody calling them out on it because that's when things get really dangerous and they could potentially overdose and die or something like that. And that's a really extreme example, but it's true in a lot of cases. So you have to be willing to trust people to make the best decision for themselves. It is not up to you to omit information, to lie to them, to make that decision for them. People get to make decisions on their own about what is best for them and what is best for their lives and what is best for their families. Hi, Love Bug. I've got a juicy little gift for you. And if you've been feeling off, stuck in your head, or like your vibe just is not vibing lately, then this is for you. I created a free guide called The 3 Secrets to Creating a Magnetic Energy Shift right now. And it's exactly what you need to start shifting your energy instantly. These are the exact tools I use with my private coaching clients when they're ready to stop chasing and start attracting. We're talking powerful, we're talking practical, and yes, of course, we are talking a little bit woo, but in the best possible way. In the guide, you will learn how to clear energetic blocks, activate your most irresistible frequency, shift into receiving mode, and there's even a bonus secret on how to use your body language to instantly boost your confidence and presence. So if you're ready to feel like the version of you who turns heads, magnetizes opportunities, and walks through the world like the main character, then this is your sign. Head to the show notes and click the link to download your free copy. It is quick, it is powerful, and it is going to leave you feeling like, damn, I really am that girl. All right, let's get back into the episode. All right. Number 8, if you don't have any friends, then you're the problem. But you can fix it, which is the good thing. So if you do not have any friends over and over and over and over and over again, even like one close friend, if you do not have any friends, then I hate to tell you, honey, but there is something going on there that you need to look at within yourself, okay? Because one, either you're trying to force yourself to fit in a box that you do not belong in. So you're trying to be somebody that you're not really at the core in order to make friends, in order to get people to like you. But in that case, people can always kind of like tell when people aren't being genuine. My brother said this on a previous episode, but people have a bullshit detector. Like they can tell when someone isn't being genuine. So if you are constantly trying to fit into these groups that you don't really have anything in common with just because you think they're cool, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. Like in this case, I really think that you should make a list of all of the different things that you actually enjoy doing yourself. So maybe it's playing video games. Like, if you're somebody that likes playing video games, then why are you out there trying to be on a sports league that you hate playing? Like, why aren't you instead going to like video game conferences or whatever? Like, your people are going to be at that video game conference more so than they probably are going to be at that sports league for the sport that you don't even like playing. So, like, really take a look at what you enjoy doing and start doing more of that thing. Start looking up different places that you can go where other people are doing that thing too, because then you're more likely to run into people that you're going to hit it off with because you already have something in common to talk about. And sure, you're not going to hit it off with everybody at everything just because you share similar interests. That's just how it works. You're not going to hit it off with everybody, but you are increasing your chances so much more to find the people that you do hit it off with by going out and doing the things that you actually enjoy doing. And then the second part of that, of you being the problem, is that if you're not trying to fit into a box that's not meant for you, if that's not what you're doing, if you are out there like doing all the activities that you like to do and you're still struggling to make friends, then there's likely some issues with the way that you're relating with people. Maybe you're avoiding vulnerability with other people, or maybe you're not really being a nice person, or maybe you're just not really even putting yourself out there. So like I'll walk through a few examples of that, but maybe you're going to this event, but you're not actually talking to anybody at the event. Just being present isn't necessarily going to make you friends. You actually have to actively put yourself out there and talk to other people and introduce yourself to other people when you want to make new friends. If you have issues with relating with other people or being vulnerable with other people, I feel like these two are kind of connected because in order to relate with people, we have to open up to them about who we are. And that means showing them the pieces of ourselves that we're not always proud of because people understand that. People can connect with pain. People can connect with joy really easily too, but you have to open up those deeper parts of yourself in order to find those deep, lasting friendships that you're probably craving if you don't have any friends right now. And being vulnerable like that can be scary because there's the risk of rejection, right? But the whole point is that If you don't risk it, you're guaranteed not to have it. So you can either risk it and maybe get it, or you cannot risk it and never have it. So that's kind of the mindset that I have around that. But if you're needing help with that, these are things that you can work through too. These deep fears, lots of times they're rooted in past rejections from either our childhood or just from when we were younger. So those are things that you can work through with EFT and NLP too. So that's something I can help with. If that is something that you want more help with, is understanding yourself a little bit more and how to relate with people a little bit more, then book a free session. It's on the website. I'll include a link in the bio. It's called a breakthrough session. It's a free breakthrough session. So go and book it if you want a little bit of help in that department. And then the last one is just being a nice person. Like, I think there's some instances where we think we're being nice when we're not really being nice. Or maybe we don't care about being nice, or maybe we're just being really rude. So that's something that you can work through too. You have control over those behaviors that are making people think that you're just like not a nice person to be around. Okay, and then my last piece of advice that I would tell you if I wasn't afraid of hurting your feelings is that if your body is the most appealing thing about you, then you've got some work to do. And this is not at all about body shaming. This is about valuing yourself as more than just a pretty figure and a pretty face. And obviously, like, of course, I think it's great to be healthy and to take care of your body and to be fit. I love going to the gym. I love walking the dogs. I love being active. But this is different. Valuing your health is different than thinking people are going to love you for your body. It's different than putting your body first when you are meeting new people. Honestly, like you could have a really great body, but if you have a shitty personality and an ugly personality, like things aren't going to work out for you in the end because true beauty radiates from the inside. It radiates from who you are and from your soul and how you treat other people and how you show up in the world. And honestly, like your radiance also comes from the confidence that you have in yourself. And really, with confidence, confidence is just a mindset and a state of being that anybody can learn. It's not something that you're just not bound to have if you don't have it right now. It's something that you can build upon and grow into. And honestly, trust me, I've been there. I've been in the depths where I was not confident in myself, where I only thought that people liked me for my body because I was super fit. I was really tiny. I was really skinny. Like in college, I was like, very beautiful. I still think I'm beautiful, but like still. But I took a very body forward approach, especially to men, hoping that they would fall in love with me through my body and through sex. And I would sleep with men thinking that that would make them love me. And you know what happened after that? It never made them fall in love with me. They would either only be in it for the sex and leave and like throw me in the trash, or they would string me along for a little while because they were getting what they wanted to get out of me at that point in time, even if they didn't have plans to do anything else for me. And I was sitting there thinking that they loved me because they loved my body so much. And so this happened because I just did not value myself in a true, like, deep way. I truly thought that, like, most of my worth came from my body and from my face because I was ashamed of who I was at the core. And there's a lot of work that comes into overcoming that shame that you feel about who you are and truly accepting who you are and the person that you came here to be. But the fact that I only valued myself as a body and a pretty face, that meant that they only valued me as a body and a pretty face too. And that's never a good place to be. It doesn't feel good to be in that place. I experienced it firsthand. It's a really hard struggle. And so like you deserve so much better than that. You deserve so much better than someone who just values you for a pretty body because you know what? As we grow and as our hormones change, especially as women, our bodies are going to change. Like we're naturally going to gain a little bit of weight sometimes, depending on where our hormones are at. When we go through pregnancy, we're going to gain weight because that's honestly what's healthy to do during a pregnancy. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit harder to lose that weight. As we grow up, our hips get wider just because our bodies change in order to biologically have babies. Like if you are constantly trying to be the skinniest version of yourself because you want people to like you, then that is not a healthy place to be because our bodies are constantly changing and our faces are constantly changing. Like you're going to age, and there is such a beauty in aging gracefully and just loving who you are. I could go on about this forever. I am going to be doing a different episode on body image and all of that stuff just because it's so important to me and it's something that I struggled with for so long. But you are more valuable than just your body, and you deserve to be treated as more than just a body that is fun to have around. And on that note, talking about this, if you truly are like one of those people that is just a smoke show, smoking hot, but you're kind of a jerk to everybody and you're kind of unpleasant to be around, you just have an ugly personality, then like no amount of sexy is going to cover that up. Like you cannot cover up a shitty personality for that long. Like temporarily, sure, you can cover it up and temporarily people will like you, but it's not going to last for long term because people value people who value themselves. And if you're walking around here with a shitty personality thinking that you can get away with it because you have a hot bod or like a pretty face, like that's just not going to create the long-term value that you're looking for. And I would argue that if you're walking around here with a shitty personality and a hot bod to make up for it, you're actually like probably have deep insecurities that you need to work through. But luckily you can work through them. Again, use the link in the bio. But people value people who value themselves, and people value people whom they can be themselves with. So, I'm going to leave you with that. That's all my pieces of advice for you for today, but I will see you all next week. I love you. Bye. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you liked what you heard, then go ahead and subscribe so you get updates with us every week. You can also follow us on Instagram at KRC Coaching. If you're interested in working one-on-one, then go ahead and visit our website, krccoaching.com, to book your first 30-minute session for free. All right, thanks so much, you guys. Love you. Bye.